Okay, let's like to bring up on stage Matt Page. He's the commercial director from Ringier in South Africa. He's going to how about bringing order to chaos, how to fix your portal's SEO and supercharge your performance. Matt, fantastic to have you on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Show of hands, does anyone recognize this image? Okay, cool, good. Where's Waldo if you're from the US, or where's Wally if you're from anywhere outside of the US? So this is a metaphor I want to use for what your website looks like. So this is a comic book game where you've got to find specific characters. The characters are the ones that matter. So you want to try and find Wally, you want to try and find Wenda. He's got a dog called Woof. There's a wizard in here. There's a guy called Oddlaw who's the bad guy. And then there's a whole lot of other paraphernalia. And it takes you a hell of a long time to do it because it's a mess. And there's a lot of things that are going to throw you off in this process, and you're going to run out of energy, and you're probably not going to find everything. And I've taken the liberty of finding all those things. They're really hard to find. Some of them, very, very specific details that you're looking for. And this is what it's like for a search bot coming to a property classifieds website. There is shit everywhere. It is a mess. And we are trying to get that search bot to find interesting content and to deliver that as a search experience for users on the front end. And if it can't find it, you've got a real problem. So today's conversation is around how do you take this mess, or how did we take this mess, and how do we bring order to it? How do we go from an image that is all over the place to getting all of our properties nicely, neatly stacked up so that we can find it very quickly? So this mess, this is what we had on our side. And if you're in this mess, there's a couple of things that you're going to be experiencing, or a couple of reasons for it. The one is that on a property classifieds, you've got so many URLs. You've got tons and tons of detail pages coming online all of the time, and you've got this near infinite number of search results pages. So within that context, it's very limited stuff that you can do without appropriate measures to gear a search bot towards what matters, to Wally, to Wenda, to the wizard. The second thing you have is you've got turnover of content all the time. Listings are going online, they're going offline, they're being archived, they're being updated, your search results pages are dynamically changing. There is no way for you, in a real sense, to control what is relatively more or less important for an indexing agent or a search bot. So they're coming to your site and they're dealing with this mess. And the third thing that they have is a more macro shift where search engines are starting to shift towards semantic search. And in a very simple sense, that means they want to understand the context of what you're doing. They want to have more conversational responses from you. And your search results pages, our search results pages, inherently lacked that context. They're pretty stale, static things. It's a set of listings in a result page, and that's hard to infer anything semantic from that, so we're missing out on that. And the end result we had on our side is our content wasn't being indexed, so the stuff that was on our website was not making it into search engines. That's a huge problem. And the second part of that problem is the stuff that was making it wasn't good enough. It inherently lacked that semantic understanding. So even the content that we were managing to get indexed wasn't capturing user queries well enough, or to the level that we wanted to. And what you end up with is you end up with a situation where there is poor indexation on your site, there is long periods or latency periods to get new content indexed quickly, and the result of that in kind of bare numbers is less traffic, less leads, and in due course, less revenue. So it's a big, big problem for a website. And where we found ourselves is that everyone was having a really great party in the background because they were doing it well, and we were the sad guy in the front. And I guess the goal of what I want to talk about today and what we wanted was, how did we get ourselves into the party? How do we have a bit of a smile? So what I want to talk today is kind of a practical blueprint. I've said that we can fix SEO very, very quickly, and I want to take you through the way that we did it on our sites, and maybe there's something that you can take back and you can follow a step-by-step guide to say, do these things, and from my side I can guarantee that you're going to have some really good performance. We follow a 5-step process. First step is data. We take usable, readily available data that every single person in this room has access to. There's nothing difficult around getting access to this data. We use that data to identify content that matters. Out of all of the content that we have, what is the stuff that matters? We then use a couple of tactical things that I'll dive into in a second to force search bots to consume that content as quickly as possible and in as an efficient way as possible. And then we syndicate that content everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean everywhere. 25, 30 different social channels. And the reason we do that is by being present in all sorts of surfaces across the web with the same content, we are able to build up our authority and trust in the search engine's perspective, and it has an impact on our organic performance on an SEO side. And then we just repeat that. So take data, prioritize the content, make sure that search bots look at it, send it everywhere, repeat. And as I'm talking right now, this is happening in real time on our sites. This happens 50, 60, 70 times a day as our content is changing. Let me talk about it a little bit. So data. Most of you would have seen a graph that looks like this. This is a standard image that you get from Google Search Console. And the way that you interpret this is the gray bars are the content that you have on your site that is not indexed, and the green bars are the ones that is indexed. This is a kind of image that probably a lot of you have right now. So you have a website with a sitemap, and in your sitemap you have content that matters to you, and I'm guessing between 50 to 60% of that content is being indexed appropriately. We can take from this two things. The first is what I mentioned. You know which of your content is actually in search results and which is not. And the second thing that we can do with that is we can work out from the point that a listing comes online, how long does it take to become a green bar? And that period of time, if it's really long, it means you're inefficient at doing it. If it's really short, it means you can get through these things super quickly. So what we know from this content is these landing pages are indexed, these landing pages are not, and the ones that are indexed are taking X amount of time. Step two is you prioritize how you want to address that, because now in a classified site, you might have 100,000, 200,000 gray bars in that chart that you want to get prioritized. So what we do is we take that content and we prioritize which ones matter first, and we address that in a very systematic data-driven process. The way we do that is we use, again, readily available data. So there's two main sets of data that we use. The one is page views. So if we see content is not indexed, but someone has consumed it on our website through a normal sort of search process, we deem that content more important than content that hasn't been indexed. That's the one prioritization. The second thing we look at is the amount of content on a search results page. If you have a thin search results page with only a few listings on it, we say that's less important. That's not necessarily right or wrong, that's just the way that we do it and the way that we prioritize it. And this tells us, attack these things in this order. Very systematic approach, and that's what we feed into our engine. The second thing we do is, going back to that semantic part that I spoke about, we take our content and we try and transform it so that it is more geared towards semantic meaning. It is answering user queries. It is using conversational language in a more LLM-style focused approach to dealing with user queries. And the way that we do this is we take, if you imagine your search results page, it's got a whole lot of listings. We take all of that content, we ingest it, we create a bunch of BI metrics around that. So things like, this is the average price, this is the average size, this is the price if it's got a balcony, this is the price if it's got a garden, and we create a whole suite of statistics. We then pump that data into an AI engine where we will also include things like neighborhood guides, point of information. And this is the kind of thing that you get out. This is a recent example we've just done. So you can read through it and I'll highlight a few things. On a search results page, we'll now have things like, this is the average price. It's an affordable area. It's for families or individuals. It's built-in wardrobes and various other attributes. It's a vibrant community. It's a student lifestyle. There's centers and parks. If you're looking for a balanced lifestyle, this is the kind of place to go. This is gold in terms of semantic content. And this is the stuff that we didn't have on our sites that we now have on our sites. And we just embed that in a search results page, and it looks like that thing over there. And that is now available. So when that content is being indexed, you're now using that content to reproduce results. So your content is now getting indexed properly, and you have that long tail friendly semantic search. And then this is kind of where the magic happens. So now you've prioritized the content, you've got it ready, you got to get search engine attention. So the first thing we do is we take our internal links on our site. So if you do any property classified search, you'll go to a search results page, and somewhere on that page you've got links to other things. For 99% of you, I'm sure that it's static. It was the same thing on our side. We've made it dynamic. So we are changing those links in real time, and we are prioritizing the URLs that matter. So we can get search engines to go to that very, very quickly. And the impact of that is that any search results pages that are not indexed are now getting indexed extremely quickly because the bots are going to them straight away and using up that quota. The second thing we do is we create carousels on a home page, which looks a little bit like this. And what those carousels are is it's carousels of detail pages that have come online that are not yet indexed that we've prioritized. And it does the same thing. Search bots land on your homepage, they index that content very, very quickly, and now your detail pages are also being indexed. So you're systematically decreasing that gray bar component on that graph I showed earlier. And the last thing we do, which is kind of like a catch-all for everything, is we submit RSS feeds of unindexed content directly into Google Search Console, or into Bing Webmaster Tooling. So that gets everything that is not indexed. It's a little bit less efficient, but it just compounds it. And at the end of the day, you've now got all of your unindexed content being indexed very, very, very quickly. And then the last part, which you don't have to do, but we really believe in this for that authority and trust, is we now take that one listing that you have online and obviously repeat it for every piece of content we have, and we use AI to transform it into 25 or 30 different versions of itself. Different descriptions, different tones, different call to action. We take it and we split it into all the different image formats that you're going to have, and then we send that out to a whole bunch of endpoints. And we don't discriminate. We want to send that thing everywhere, because the more surfaces we're on, the better we are enhancing our brand perception and our ranking from an authority perspective. We also do it on video, which opens up more channels. So now you're sending it to every social destination and endpoint that you can imagine, and there's some really useful stuff there. The first is you get that authority, and a side thing is that you get more traffic. And then we just learn and repeat. So we send the content out, the content comes back, we follow the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this figure of 8 just kind of keeps running. And that's what's happening in real time on our sites as we talk now. So I guess the key question is, if you follow this blueprint, what are the results that you're going to get? I would break results into 4 buckets. Overnight and very short-term results, short to medium term, and kind of a more medium to long-term time horizon. The first thing we like to look at is how long is it taking our content to be indexed. So it's a very useful metric to look at. The kind of thing that you can expect is you should be able to reduce that by about 40% within a week of doing these things. And then you can reduce that down to about 90% of what it was historically after about 2 to 3 months of doing it systemically. So this is a very big platform of ours where in the beginning, these are months on the horizontal. We implemented it. At the point of implementing, it was taking about 19 hours to get new content indexed. Immediately after implementing, we got a drop to about 700 minutes there, and then after doing all these things systematically, it went down to about 1 hour, and that's where it stayed at this point in time. Going from 1 hour to 19 hours, or 19 to 1, means that you can churn through this content so quickly now. So it has an impact now on your index coverage, which is that Google Search Console graph I showed. So after about a month or so, you should be seeing 60 to 80% of your content being indexed, and then you can get that up to about 90% of your content indexed, where you just hold the line at that level. And this is what it looks like. This was a smaller platform with, in this case, it's only about 20,000 results that we were looking at, but within a couple of days, bang, down to that 90% margin. And then as the content is changing, some of the stuff is not being indexed, but everything is getting through that engine and is slowly working towards it. The third area, and this is kind of the sexy stuff, or depending on which side you are, maybe the not so sexy stuff, is how do you now prepare your content and what does it look like performance-wise for things like chat-based search, where you've got these inherently longer search queries. This is what we know. We know that overnight your content gets enriched, so that's those summaries I was showing. The second thing we know is that we are answering long-tail queries in search, in AI search platforms within about a week. So we're being referenced in there. So it's getting into those tooling. What we don't know yet, which is because of time, we don't know yet what is going to happen in terms of the growth in search queries. But we believe that that's going to be huge. So we think that this is a paradigm that is going to be very, very important for us as a growth metric, and that you're going to see a huge increase in terms of the performance there. To give you an example of what this looks like, this is an AI overview platform that I'm going to show you. So AI overview is active in the US. It's not fully active as a service everywhere else. You have to opt into it now. So the usage is still relatively low, but as soon as they turn this thing on, you can be pretty sure it's going to skyrocket. This is a query that I did. So I'm speaking to it to kind of really get you're not going to hear it, I'll talk you through it. But I'm talking to my phone saying, can you find me the average price of a townhouse for sale in Mombasa with a garden, which is one of our English-speaking Kenyan markets. This is what it does. This is what the result looks like. So it takes that search, and it gives you this AI overview like this, and you get a nice little summary of what the result is, and you get a whole bunch of links. The first interesting thing is our brand is referenced straight away. So it actually says, according to your brand, this is what it is. So the user experience is getting that brand immediately put into their perspective. The results here is exactly what we've embedded on our site. It's just reproducing them because we've given the search bots the ability to find it, and they can work with it. The second interesting thing is these little links, and it might be a bit small for you, but you'll see links on the summary, you'll see links on those key points to remember. All of these things like the price range, the popular areas, the gardens, that's coming from our website directly. So if I click on that link, this is what it looks like. You go into a set of results here that are all our website. And if you click on the links systemically, they are all our links in there. So there is no competition that can compete with us in the search space because the website is entirely geared towards delivering results in this. And at the end of it, you go into your organic search, and that's where you start seeing the competitors. So the competitors are like 6 or 7 results down. They're still there, but we're locking out the bulk of those queries. And this is where I think there's going to be this huge growth. We don't yet know what it is. I mean, it's month on month, it's like in the 1,000%, but it's off such a small base that we're going to see what that looks like. But I believe as soon as this thing is live, you should see some really good results. The last benefit that you will see is you will see your social traffic grow, and what we've seen is about a 50% growth. It differs by channel, and it differs by your maturity on those channels, but as a benchmark, you should see about 50% over an extended period of time. And we've seen about a 10 to 15% organic growth in the traditional organic that we're getting, and we think that that's going to be bigger once we start seeing this chat-based search or this agentic search coming in. So our website, our world was this mess, and we went through a learning process to create these blueprints, and we follow those blueprints. And what it looks like or what it feels like to us is we went from this situation where extremely difficult to find content, extremely difficult to identify what matters, and our beach looks a little bit more like this now. You get there, you land, you find it, and it's done. So I hope you can follow that. I hope it helps you, and I hope it gives you a bit of clarity on what you should be doing. From my side, I'm happy to discuss with anyone if they want to do it. We've done it ourselves, we've learned from it, and we've got some tooling that could help you if you wanted to do it. Thank you.
Matt, fantastic stuff. Let's start answering some of these questions. How much do you have to shift your strategy for sites in different markets?
Not at all. The fundamentals are the same. The only small differences which are kind of easy to do is to consider the type of semantic search. I'll give you an example. We're working with a client in the Middle East now where air conditioning is extremely important. That's not the same thing as in mainland Europe. So you might just be shifting the kind of content that you want to surface to capture those long-tail queries. You would know that, you live in the market and you understand it. For example, like maybe a French example is they have energy ratings on houses. Those are interesting things to be able to put in. But otherwise, the bones of that blueprint are exactly the same.
Okay. How do you think the site loading speed, according to Google Page Speed Insights, currently affects its ranking in search engines?
We don't know exactly. It does, is the short answer. And what we understand is that all things being equal, addressing all of the things I spoke about and a few others, this is the thing that then differentiates. So I would say definitely make sure that your core web vitals are good, because if you are like for like competing with a competitor and you have better core web vitals on all other metrics, you'll be ranked better.
Okay. Are you selling or licensing this as a tool now? and how much does it typically cost?
We are giving it externally now. We've got 16 external domains from Ringier that are using it, so if someone would want to do it, they're welcome to. It's, if you want to do the SEO, it's $1,500 a month.
Okay. How much of your great results in Google overviews are driven by your optimizations versus the authority you have in the market?
I would say it's 100% from optimizations because you're comparing like for like. It's not that your authority changes within a week. You implement these things, you get an 80%, 90% reduction in the time to index. So it's really a technology thing. It's got nothing to do with your brand. You can take any website outside of classifieds, inside of classifieds, and you'll get the same results.
And how big is the team to manage the strategy? Well, the question, it's two ways to think about it. In your team, and how big should the team be in the company?
If you are a group, I would say you should have a dedicated SEO team. I think it's a key competency. If you're a single classifieds, it's not always as easy as that. In Ringier's world, we've got about 25, 30 classifieds businesses in our portfolio, and we have 2 people, one that focuses on the social and one that focuses on SEO. You can get away with just having a generalist marketer who can do these things. It's not rocket science. There's certain particularities to it, and there's also lots of service providers that can help you as an outsourced solution if you want it. So I don't think you need a big team.
And how big's your team?
To do this tool specifically, we've got 6 people.
Okay.
But that covers everything from creating the videos, doing the technology, implementing it and managing it for clients, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Love what you guys are doing.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Excellent.